Welcome to What Off Season.
You already know what time it is. Welcome back into the What Off Season Sports Podcast, everybody. Loads of NFL talk coming your way on the show. Cam Newton finally gets picked up. Tons of angles you can look at there. Is Bill Belichick really instilling 100% faith in him? And Patrick Mahomes is swimming in cash, of course, as we all know right now. But it is way more than that. Is the best quarterback really primed for greatness over the next decade? And we got just a couple weeks until opening day is upon us. Going to take a look at the best potential DH hitters in the National League. And we're going to round out the show today with some dark horse NBA contenders looking for the title. As always, catch us on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere you find your podcast at. Right now, as you're listening, you can head to Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter and check out the bio. That is our link tree. Every single bit of our content is right there in the link, guys. Go ahead and click it. Find all the social media, all the platforms. We have a TikTok now. Go check us out. Trying to post there every single day. But everybody, we got a brand new special guest in the studio with me, the main host of the Clown Town Talk Show Sports Podcast, Joe. Brother man, what is going on? Introduce yourself to the people.
What's up, guys? It's great to be on today. Big fan of your podcast as always. And so a little bit about me. I started Clown Town mid-March.
You guys are blowing up, man.
Yeah, a lot of hard work. Thanks, man. A lot of hard work into it. It's been a lot of fun, doing a lot of good stuff. So definitely check us out. And really excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Anybody that just heard Joe mention that, Clowntown.talk show on Instagram. Go check them out. They post literally every day, podcasts all the time. Joe, are you hyped for today, man? We're about to get it, dude.
Oh, it's going to be awesome. Really excited.
All
good
right,
topics.
Man. Let's go. So first, we are going to start with Cam Newton to the Patriots. First and foremost, for $1 million, I thought was just super disrespectful. The former MVP, I get it. He's 5 years out of that. But, for the minimum, but we can look past that. A lot to dig into today. We wanted to get into really, does Cam Newton start? Joe, I want to ask you before we dive in, do you think Newton starts?
This is going to be tough for me. I honestly think that he will get the start, but I think he's going to have to earn it a lot. Like, I really don't think it's going to give it to him. It's not, automatic. Everyone's is saying right now, automatic start, Super Bowl contenders, no.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to have to earn this start, no question. Stidham's been the guy in there. Definitely, ever since Brady left, he's been kind of the given starter, right?
Yeah.
So now this guy comes in who hasn't been good, really in 4 or 5 years. Like, he's 0-8 in his last, 8 games. The question is, what Cam Newton are you going to get? So it's going to be interesting. I don't know if he's actually the given starter. I think he's really going to have to earn it. And if he's healthy, then I maybe. But Belichick's not going to just give it to him.
Right. I 100% agree. And I heard you mention the health right there. And that's actually the first angle we're going to take a look at. So is Cam Newton going to be healthy? As Joe just mentioned, he is 0-8 in his last 8 games. His last actual NFL win was at home against the Buccaneers, 42-28, November 4th of 2018. It wasn't even really a great game for Cam Newton. He went on to lose the next 7 games to finish the season, gets hurt in the final game of that season, will come back in the following year and just continue to get banged up, losing his starting spot, of course, to Kyle Allen. And, the last actual game that Cam Newton played in was September 12th of 2019. And, if you just look back at that game, he was broken completely. The Lisfranc injury had came about very soon after that. I want to say, I know the shoulder was still giving him issues then. And just Cam's durability has, unfortunately, over the past few seasons, everybody has seen the obvious decline of Cam Newton. And you even look into, a little bit of his medical history, 2 surgeries on his body, the shoulder and the foot. The Lisfranc injury just continues to linger around. Do you think Cam is able to overcome the shoulder and the foot injury to really get on a new path with the New England Patriots, Joe?
It's hard to say because I don't know if they actually 100% know that he's healthy right now.
Right,
because
if they trust him.
Yeah, I just don't, because they're not able to bring him in for a physical and a tryout. So I just, who knows what kind of Cam Newton you're getting here. And, the question is, this guy's been injured for the past 2 years. This is a gamble, an absolute gamble. So,
100%.
and signing the $1 million contract, it makes it definitely less of a gamble because you're not really giving up too much. But everyone thinks that, Cam Newton's going to come in and just dominate. I don't know if that's actually going to happen. I think it's really going to be a question of, is he fully healthy and is he able to make the impact that he once was,
Right,
So.
absolutely. And such that strong year, the strong MVP season 2015. And Cam Newton had plenty of good seasons under his belt. And actually had somebody ask me the other day, you really don't think Cam Newton's going to start? And it's like, all right, well, look at Bill Belichick. He's arguably the greatest NFL coach ever. I mean, he's up there with Andy Reid, up there with Sean Payton, in my opinion, ahead of those two guys. But do you see a coach, a caliber of Bill Belichick investing in, Cam Newton in the state he is now? And, the $1 million can almost be maybe an indicator that he wasn't willing to even pay him. I mean, really average backup money if you really look into the numbers. But is Belichick going to invest in a Cam Newton that could realistically only be at maybe 75 or 80% come, the first snap of the season?
Yeah, it's a great question. And it's also a good point where, he's getting way less than the average backup. So
way less.
I mean, not even close. So it's really interesting because I think Belichick is really just saying, hey, we're going to take a gamble in grabbing you, but it's not, it's not going to be too expensive. Like you're going to have to really prove your worth here. And it is a win-win for the Patriots because they're not giving up anything. And, worst case scenario, they just cut him. But best case scenario, he goes off because he's a chip on his shoulder, right?
Of course.
So because he was passed on so many teams. Yeah, exactly. He was passed on so many teams and he, released by the Panthers. So he really is a chip on the shoulder here. And if he's healthy and he's ready to go, he's definitely going to be dangerous. But, the question is he healthy?
Right. Is he ready to go? Is he ready to be dangerous? And you can even look. Consistency is a big question for Cam Newton because I know me and you, Joe, we're digging into the numbers. We're about to share that here with the audience. So his first 3 seasons in the league, he improved every year in the win column. Then he jumps to an amazing 12-4, but then he falls to 5-8-1. Then the Super Bowl year of 15-1. Then a flop to a 6-8, back up to 11-5, and then back to 6-8. So you just really can't even keep a consistency in the win column with Cam Newton. And you even got to look at the fact that, he's not consistent with even his passes. You can look at his completion percentage. He barely completes 60% of his passes. And I think Cam Newton's a great guy. I would truly be honored to have him, play for my team, play for any team. If, you're just a general fan of football, you would love to have Cam Newton on your squad. But it's just, is he going to be healthy? Is he going to be consistent? And I think Belichick knows what he's getting himself into. Belichick really felt like he was confident in mentoring AB, obviously cut AB once that news came out. Randy Moss, he was definitely able to get a hold of Randy Moss a little bit. And then, now you have a guy like Cam Newton who is so flamboyant and, really just will speak whatever he's thinking or whatever he wants to say. And, that's going to segue us into our next angle we're taking a look at here is Cam Newton at the end of the day a good fit with Bill Belichick? Joe, I want you to tackle this one first, brother.
Yeah, so to add on what you just said a little bit, with the risks he's taking with AB and those other players, Josh Gordon definitely adds that too. Josh Gordon's had a lot of problem off fields, and
very true. Shame on me for forgetting that.
No. I mean, I just remembered him, so I just really think that he has kind of a history with these types of players where he brings them in for cheap and says, "Listen, prove yourself. I want you to be able to prove yourself on my team and make a name for yourself. So we can either sign you to a bigger contract, or hey, you know what, you played really well here, but you're not our fit." Right. So you now go and sign a bigger contract with another team because, we proved your name. So it's kind of good of Bill Belichick to kind of bring in these types of players and see what they can do. Is he a good fit is a great question. So, my biggest takeaway is just his off-field antics,
yes.
The way he dresses or what, the font that he says on his Instagram posts.
Everybody's going to be on that man's fashion this year, bro.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. Definitely. It's just, I really don't know. I don't. And like we said before, a lot of these players, I did not, approve of them.
So disrespectful to not sign Cam Newton. And then you sign him for $1 million.
Exactly.
But
so it's
risk,
just like,
risk reward,
Yeah, risk reward. So it's just like, I don't really know if these other players that Bill signed also fit his kind of, reputation, but, we'll see what happens with Cam and what he can bring to the table for the Pats.
Right. 100%. I agree, man. And, if you even look into, like you were talking about the off-field antics, but just Cam Newton's, character in general, a flamboyant guy for sure, loves to talk. And he's really different from Belichick's scheme because he's a mobile, out of the pocket quarterback. That is who Cam Newton is, and the accuracy is another thing that you kind of have to look at because Brady is a very accurate passer and he can push the football down the field. Now, I think Cam will still be able to push the ball down the field. And if whatever he can't do with his arm, I think he can make up for with the mobility and his legs, his strength, whenever he might get a good, 6-7 yard runoff. But he isn't very accurate with barely completing 60% of his passes in his career. And that's one thing Bill Belichick loved is when Brady could just thread the needle. When Brady needed to have that pass, it needed to be in that pocket over the back shoulder where, only Julian Edelman could have that in that
exactly.
time.
Yeah.
And it's just like, is he going to get that out of Cam Newton? I don't think Cam can hold to the accuracy of Brady. We're going to dive into that a little more here in a few minutes. But and another big thing that jumps out is, the staff that is still with New England, Josh McDaniels specifically saying that he isn't a Cam Newton fan. Joe, how does that hit you? If you were to hear a staff member say, I'm not a fan of this player. How does that make you feel?
Yeah. So not even only a staff member, the offensive coordinator, right? So that's the biggest thing. So I think it was a month and a half ago when I read that report popped up my phone. I'm like, okay, that's it, right? All these rumors are not going to, it's not true. It's not going to happen, right? Cam's not going to the Pats. I'm like, it's done deal. And when I saw it, I was shocked. And he was still, kind of favored to go to the Pats. I thought McDaniel was coming out and saying, no, that was it. But that definitely, is a couple of red flags there, in my opinion. I think that's not going to fit well, but I think, they're both going to have to deal with each other. I think McDaniels is going to have to, pretty much say, hey, I got to get over this hatred. And, obviously this guy is not who I want leading my team. That's what I'm assuming, that he doesn't want him, but he's going to have to kind of completely change his offense, which is going to be hard for him, I think. Right. So he's used to the same, Brady offense as past seasons that he's been with the Pats. So completely changing his offense, this player is going to be tough for him, but he's going to have to deal with it.
Yeah, 100%, man. I definitely agree with everything you just laid out there. And, before we tackle into the really compare and contrast to Newton and Brady, Belichick is arguably the best coach in NFL history, along with Brady being arguably the best quarterback to ever play the game. And, the argument has always been, can Brady do it without Belichick, and vice versa? And, Brady and Belichick, in my opinion, they made each other. Or you have to really think, can one do it without the other? How do you think this all fares out, Joe?
Yeah. Belichick's definitely the best coach in history. It's going to be interesting to see what Brady will do in Tampa for him to kind of prove his reputation.
Exactly. Because that does affect Belichick's legacy at the end of the day,
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Who would have
Brady,
ever thought a player that's not playing for you is still going to affect your legacy?
Oh, yeah, 100%. Like if Brady has a bad season and the Bucs, don't make the playoffs, that's going to put a lot of, especially if the Pats do make the playoffs, that's going to be great. And that irons it out, right? There's no question about it.
Right.
But if that happens, it's a whole different story. It's going to be really interesting to see, who wins, I guess, for lack of a better word, in the end. It's going to be interesting. I really don't know, to be honest with you.
Right. I feel you, man. So now we're going to get into this last segment of Cam Newton going to the Patriots. We really wanted to dive straight into just the compare and contrast between Cam Newton and Tom Brady. So we got 5 categories here, actually, that we're going to dig into: arm accuracy, athleticism, poise, and vision. Really, is it an upgrade or a downgrade from Tom Brady? So the first we have is the arm. Of course, we think Brady takes the cake on this. Brady, just because, Newton is off of his shoulder surgery. We don't know if Newton's going to be able to push the ball as far down the field as he was. And like I said, whatever he can with his arm, he'll try to make up for it with the mobility, the physicality, with the legs, the scrambling, all that. But overall, Brady has a better arm right now. And if we're talking about primes, I think Cam takes it. Cam had really a cannon in the prime of his career. And I know the shoulder surgery is definitely going to scale him back. Would you agree with me on that one, though, Joe? Cam definitely takes it. I'm sorry, Brady definitely takes it for the just the arm strength right now.
Yeah, right now, 100%. Just Brady's arm alone, he's used to staying in the pocket and just slinging the football, right? And you don't see that too much with Cam Newton. You see him, coming out of the pocket, short, quick throws. Yeah, you'll see him gun it, but overall, Brady has a stronger arm.
Right, absolutely. Now moving into the next one, accuracy here. So we're going to take Brady again at 64% completion, with Newton at barely 60%, technically 59.6. Brady sitting at 64% up there. And I mean, you can just even look at the film between Brady and Cam. Brady's always been the more accurate quarterback than Cam Newton. Now, Cam can still have his throws, but Cam's decision-making, his judgment on the field sometimes isn't the best. If you get him a little flustered, you can really see Cam's attitude when his character needs to shine on the field. And you got to think, is that going to affect, these key elements we're going down the list here here with? And Joe, I feel like you'll side with me on that one as well. Accuracy to Tom Brady.
Oh, yeah, 100%. No
Awesome.
question.
Yeah, man, definitely. And so moving into the next one, athleticism, I'm sure everybody can guess here. Cam Newton is going to take the slate for that. Newton for sure because of the legs and the strength. Tom Brady, we know he can't really run. He doesn't really get out of the pocket, but he's a big guy. He's a tall guy. He can see over his line. Now, so can Cam, but with the ability to let Cam get out of the pocket, being able to move as effectively as he can. And, he's strong. You can't tackle Cam Newton up high, but I wanted to ask you, Joe, do you think Cam's athleticism is actually going to bring value to that Patriots offense? Is it going to get tapped into with Bill Belichick?
Yeah, no question. He's used to Brady being a statue.
Literally.
So a statue. You'll never see him run out of the pocket, even if it's given to him. So that's definitely going to be a great weapon that he can use and change his offense towards and really make some great plays, because Bill Belichick is an extremely creative guy, as we know, right?
Yes, he is.
So with this, new talent bringing to the offense is going to change his entire play style, and he's has a great offensive mind, and people, forget how great of an offensive mind Bill Belichick has.
Exactly.
Because they've had the same offense for so long. But Bill is really going to go into this and dive right into this new and improved, weapon that he has. So it's going to be really interesting to see what he does with Cam Newton and his running abilities.
Yeah, man, I definitely agree. I can't wait to see it personally because, I know Bill Belichick has really always had Tom Brady. It's been Brady and Belichick for as long as everybody can remember. So it could really be dangerous. I said this on my Instagram. The one question is, does Cam Newton start? But two, if Cam Newton does start, then everybody should be really scared because Belichick is really going to be able to expose his athleticism, his mobility in general, and just giving Belichick a mobile quarterback could really possibly be a mistake for the league. And that's what I'm saying. We don't know what Belichick is scheming on, but he's got something up his sleeve, I believe, for sure. Moving into poise here, though, Brady has to be the GOAT for arguably being the best at this besides Peyton Manning. Just general calmness in the pocket, being able to just really feel the play out, not overreacting, not flinching too much in the pocket, able to take the sack well, in my opinion. Tom Brady 100% takes the poise. It's just straight up. Tom Brady has great composure in the pocket. And like I just mentioned, we can see Cam get flustered a little bit. That character starts to show once the game progresses on. But I think you'll side with that one as well, Joe, correct?
Oh, yeah. No question at all. 100%. I agree with everything you're saying.
Perfect. And vision, the last one, of course, Tom Brady. But for this, because it really complements his accuracy. Tom Brady has great accuracy because he has some of the best vision in the NFL. And he's just really good at if the pocket is even cluttered, that goes along with the poise. If the pocket is cluttered, Brady can still hang back there, stay on his toes, not throw off of his back foot, get a good, accurate throw off. And just his vision is always there. You can remember he had plenty of throws in the Super Bowl against Atlanta. That's the reason he got to those 500+ yards. The vision he had during that game was impeccable. And overall, you just have to look. It is a downgrade for the Patriots when you let the GOAT slip away, but Cam Newton definitely has plenty of potential. He's going to bring the mobility to the offense. Belichick is going to have a weapon he can coach up. And overall, Cam Newton we really could possibly be exposed to a Cam Newton this year that we might not even have thought of seeing, or Cam Newton might have not known that he had in himself. Joe, do you think that's a possibility that we see a new Cam Newton this year?
I do, definitely. If he's healthy, he can go back to what his, MVP self in 2015. And to kind of add on to what you're saying, the other thing is Brady didn't have a great season. People forget that he had a pretty bad season last year.
He led the league in pass attempts as the oldest quarterback.
He had a bad year, right?
Yeah, a very, very tough year.
Bad year. So he's on the downfall. So the other thing is, it's like, you can only invest in a guy so much. Yeah, he's brought so much to your offense and so much to your team, 6 range, all that. But at some point, you need to move on, right? You need to prepare for your future. And I think Cam, at this cheap, obviously, is going to help his team a lot if he can go back to his old self. I do overall think it's overhyped right now. Everyone's saying they're Super Bowl contenders. That's not going to happen, in my opinion. I don't see them being a Super Bowl contender. I do see them making the playoffs, but they will struggle to win a playoff game. They have a lot of missing pieces, lost a ton in the defense.
Yes,
Offensive line is struggling. Going to need to protect Cam Newton. I do like the wide receiver weapons. They gained Marcus Lee. I think Dorsett is going to have a breakout year. I think N'Keal Harry is going to have a breakout year. Obviously, Edelman is still an animal. So I really do. And Sony Michel, obviously, that dual presence. I think they're going to be solid, but I think they're missing a lot in the defensive end. They lost a ton, just so many weapons in that defensive side. It's going to be interesting to see. I think that this is a great addition to the team. However, it's not make or break.
Right. I definitely agree. And you were just mentioning a point there. Oh, man, what was it? I don't really remember, but yeah, wide receivers. But you got to think now. So, you were talking about defensive pieces. Here we go. So, a lot of people say New England had a great defense last year. I agree. They had a good defense. I don't think it was great. Obviously, first-round playoff exit. They let the Dolphins beat them. So the defense slipped up when it really didn't need to the most. But they also played a lot of lousy offenses. And you got to think, Tom Brady's out the door now. Yes, you still have Bill Belichick, but your main piece of your franchise is in another division now. Now you have to play possibly Tua Tagovailoa. Josh Allen's only going to get better, and Sam Darnold is coming back this year to play with a chip on his shoulder. So this is finally going to be the year where I think the Patriots do not win the division. Do you think so, Joe?
100%. Bills have it locked up.
They have to have it on lock.
It's Bills to lose. Like, honestly, there's just no way they're gonna win. Like, their defense is so insane. Top 3 in the NFL. Josh Allen can really prove himself this year. They gained Stephon Diggs, huge weapon. Because the wide receiver 1 was, Cole Beasley. He's a good guy, but he's not a wide receiver 1, potential. So I think that the Diggs addition is going to be absolutely massive. Diggs. I think Singletary is really going to prove himself as well. That team's going to be insane. Really, really tough to beat. And I don't see the Patriots winning that division.
Right. All right, man. So we are about to dive into this huge, immense, fat Patrick Mahomes contract. Overall, 10 years, $503 million. Originally signed 10 years for the $450. It can go to the $503 million, of course. $477 million guaranteed. No trade clause. In the first $500 million contract in sports history. And like I was saying on Instagram, everybody agreed. I know you agreed with me, Joe. Easily the only player to be worth even the $40 million tag. But the Chiefs gave him some extra comfort with the $5 million there. And there's so much to dive into here. Huge payday, yes, of course. I know people are going to be out there saying the Chiefs have another 5 to 7 Super Bowls coming their way within the next decade. But there's so much to dig into here. And I mean, first thing I want to say is he going to act like everybody else has? Is he going to crack under the pressure? Is he going to crack under the payday, Joe? You tell me.
No way. I think he really improves this season, especially. I think he's going to do really well with pretty much the same exact team. The exact same team as last year. Yeah. So I think I don't know about the team to beat. I think they're definitely top 2. I think the Ravens are really going to surprise people as well. People think they're going to be a bust. I don't think so. I think the Ravens are going to be up there. Those 2 are definitely going to be the teams to beat in the AFC. NFC-wise, NFC is way, 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 way more competitive. It's a completely different league. Just completely different league. But AFC-wise, it's going to be those 2 teams. And I still think the Chiefs have it. But NFC-wise, it's going to be insane, the competition in the NFC. Absolutely crazy. So it's not even a question that the Chiefs will probably end up winning the AFC. The question is who they'll be facing in the Super Bowl from the NFC and Chiefs.
Right. Yeah. So and it's almost at this point, it's like, do you have a defense that can stop the Chiefs? There's always those defenses that are, on teams that aren't very great. There's plenty of years where a 6-10 or a 7-9 team has a top 5 defense, but they're not going to make it to the playoffs because their offense can't consult for it. And, the Chiefs are going to hit a roadblock in the regular season, I definitely feel like, with some sort of defense. But it's once they get to the playoffs, who is going to stop them? Who is going to be able to put out the flame that is Patrick Mahomes? And you even got to look here, with them signing Mahomes basically to every penny that the Chiefs have, what does this mean for the years coming? And by this, I mean the money for the future players. You got to think, Tyreek Hill is a top 5 receiver in the league. He's going to get his payday. Travis Kelce needs to get paid. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is going to need to get some money also. Sammy Watkins, Mecole Hardman. Now, I know these guys, still have some time until the contract renewal, whenever it may be, but it's definitely going to be within the next decade. And unfortunately, I do see some players slipping away. Joe, do you think the Chiefs are able to keep – obviously, they can't keep every single weapon around Mahomes, but I guess I just want to ask you, what players do you think you see possibly slipping away within the next 10 years for Kansas City?
I think it's going to be definitely Sammy Watkins won't be there. I think they might have to choose because they're going to want monster contracts between Kelce and Hill.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're going to have to pick.
Yeah.
And that's a tough decision.
Unfortunately, I think Tyreek would get the boot just because tight ends are valued in this league a lot more than wide receivers are.
Yeah, but I mean, if Sammy Watkins is leaving already because there's no way you're able to pay him and one of these two guys, they might not have a choice.
Yeah.
They don't have to keep Hill.
Yeah.
So it's going to be really interesting to see what happens there. And oh my God. And Williams too, the running back's going to want some money too. So it's just going to be really hard to pay all these guys.
$45 million a year for Patrick Mahomes. So that just, you got to think who else is going to be able to get a good, annual salary per year with the Kansas City Chiefs. I have faith in Andy Reid. I have faith in the organization. Great coach, great quarterback, great owner, great GM. But, at the end of the day, if the money's not there, the money isn't there. And I just hope the Chiefs can work everything out. But you got to ask yourself another question too. With paying Patrick Mahomes $45 million a year, the highest paid, NFL athlete ever, the record-breaking contract, is it Super Bowl or bust for Kansas City?
I love a Super Bowl or bust because they won last year. I think they're just trying to do what they can this year. I hope I hope it works out for them because I do like the Chiefs a lot.
I do too. They're so fun to watch.
Yeah, exactly. They're great. Pat Mahomes is just such a treat to watch him play.
Best arm talent ever, bro. I'll say that right now. Best arm talent ever.
Yeah, no question about that. So far, obviously, what we've seen.
Right,
hopefully it doesn't drop off. But, what we've seen of him so far, he's insane. So the question is, will he be able to keep that all of his 10 years? That's a whole other question, right? So the other thing is they're going to have to also pay his offensive line because they're going to want to keep him healthy and not hurt. So it's going to be a disaster. So is it Super Bowl or bust? I say no. I say yes. You want a Super Bowl here. You need a Super Bowl here. Yes. But, you lose. You don't win the Super Bowl this year. Very hard to go back to back, obviously. Next year, you don't have as good of a year. Hope to make the playoffs. And then you build upon this monster contract that you gave Pat Mahomes. Maybe you save up a little more money and, you draft some great players and you draft better team around him that's cheaper, I guess, right?
Definitely cheaper.
Yeah. So it's really interesting. I just don't know what's going to happen with them. I really don't. And this contract puts them kind of in a hole. And I really just don't know. They have very minimal cap space anyway. I think it's like something like $100,000 or some like ridiculous number like that. I don't know what it is.
Right.
But they're going to be really in a hole. And I think they're going to have to figure it out.
Right. Oh, definitely. 100%. I agree with you on that. And I agree with you so much. It's just they have to be able to pay their players for the year coming, in order to just keep up this whole offense. But I really wanted to actually graze over Patrick Mahomes' legacy. So second player ever to throw for 50 touchdown, 5,000 yards behind Peyton Manning, of course, the one and only to ever do it. Super Bowl champion, second year in the league, Super Bowl MVP. The comeback trait in the playoffs is you feel like you can already put, a great comeback trait on Patrick Mahomes for his legacy. But, and you just got to look at the contract, the largest contract in sports history, but he deserves it. I mean, look at the season he had, even with the injured knee, came back. I'm not even going to lie. When Patrick Mahomes got hurt, I didn't think that was the end of the season for the Chiefs, but I definitely didn't think the Chiefs were going to go win the Super Bowl in the fashion that they did, with Patrick Mahomes having all those comeback wins in the playoffs. And, he's got such this big legacy, but I want to debate how many rings realistically are the Chiefs going to win over the next 10 years. Joe, I want to let you go first, brother. Next 10 years, next decade for the Chiefs, how many rings do they bring back home?
I'm going to say one. I'm going to say they don't win next year, and it's going to really hurt them. They're not going to win, 3 or 4 more years after that. They're going to be in a kind of rebuild mode almost. I think they'll win one in between his last 5 years and his, contract renewal, and I think that'll be it. I think one. I'm going to say one.
One. All right, got it. That's bold. Remember, hey, I respect it. I totally feel you because like we were both saying, when the contracts come up, dude, I mean, it's going to be hectic for the Chiefs to be able to pay everybody. I'm going to say 2, 3 at the very most. I think I'm going to stick with 2 though, because like we were just both talking about, you have to think about the future of the team. You have to think about the future of the players. Obviously Patrick Mahomes has won the locker room, but you have to make sure that these players are still comfortable at the end of the day, making the money they want to make to be able to support their lifestyle. But even a bigger element to look into is, does Andy Reid stay for the next decade? Of course, some people want to say that's a no-brainer, but realistically, do you see Andy Reid being in Kansas City until 2031?
I do. I honestly do. And I don't think he'll go anywhere else. And I think he's pretty much going to stay with Mahomes as long as, if Mahomes is in KC, to see what they can do. Obviously, maybe if he has health problems, God forbid, he's getting up there in age. I don't know. But, I mean, regardless, he won't go to another team. So the question is, will he retire? And I don't think he will. I think he'll wait for this 10-year contract. 10 years is a lot of time. So I don't know. I hope so. I would love, you'd love to see this new dynasty, the Brady Belichick, and I would love to see the Mahomes Reid. I really don't know. I want to say yes, but at the same time, there's a lot of factors that can happen in 10 years. So
I definitely agree.
It's going to be interesting.
I definitely agree with you. I think he stays too. Here's my thing: if they've got the money to pay Mahomes, they have the money to pay Andy Reid. Obviously, not anytime soon. But you also got to look at, Andy Reid was the winningest coach in NFL history without a Super Bowl ring, and Patrick Mahomes got him over that hump. Patrick Mahomes got the monkey, helped him get the monkey off of Andy Reid's back, and I feel like Andy Reid would really, like you were saying, want to stay for Mahomes more than anything else because he believed in Mahomes, drafted him out of Texas Tech. All the players that were taken ahead of him, and you look how they're faring, to Patrick Mahomes now. But I definitely do want to say I agree with you. I do see Andy Reid staying for the next decade, and if he doesn't stay, he's not going to go to another team. I think he would step down. So, But tackling this last subject of the NFL segment on the What Off Season Sports Podcast, guys, before we spill over into Major League Baseball, I don't know if anybody saw, but Colin Kaepernick actually scored a deal with Disney. He'll be featured in an exclusive docuseries produced by ESPN Films as part of a first look deal with the Walt Disney Company. The partnership's actually going to focus on telling scripted and unscripted stories that explore race, social injustice, and really just the quest for equity. And also, it's going to provide a platform to showcase the work of minority directors and producers. I was super happy when I saw that Colin Kaepernick was able to get his name more out there. I love the movement that Kaepernick started back then. I know this is a really controversial topic, but if you look at just where the world is heading now, Kaepernick knew it from the jump. And I want to ask you, Joe, do you think this is possibly a jump start for, I know Kaepernick might not necessarily be sliding back into the NFL, but this definitely raises him on the radar of the NFL a little more, don't you think? Now that he's going to be appearing in, he's with Disney now. He's going to be on the big screen. How do you think that makes the NFL feel?
I definitely think that puts him back on the radar, but at the same time, that doesn't affect his ability to play the game.
Of course.
Right? So that's the question: is this guy good? And you look at his stats; he wasn't great. And I don't really think it's a race thing. I know this is very controversial. I don't want to dive into this, too much, but I do want to say that his stats weren't awesome. They weren't anything to say, "Wow, this guy deserves a contract." They were decent, and I think that definitely him kneeling was a big part of. It was a big problem back, 5 years ago, whatever it was. I think that this will put him back on the map, but at the same time, at the end of the day, is his talent there? Right. I really don't know, and I don't. How can you know right now?
Yeah,
he's been gone for 5 years. I think his window's closed. So it's going to be interesting to see. I really don't know. I can't tell you.
I feel you on that, and I appreciate you weighing in on that too, man. But you got to look here. With the deal with Disney, it's actually great because it's going to extend across all Disney platforms, including the Walt Disney Television, of course, ESPN, Hulu, Pixar, and the actual undefeated, I want to say, platform that is with Disney. But a quote actually from Colin Kaepernick himself says, "I'm excited to announce this historic partnership with Disney across all of its platforms to elevate Black and brown directors, creators, storytellers, and producers, and to just inspire the youth with compelling and authentic perspectives." Another quote here from him: "I look forward to sharing the docuseries on my life story in addition to many other culturally impactful projects we are developing." And I just love to see Colin Kaepernick wanting to push his message more. the NFL really shut him out. And with them coming forward now, with Roger Goodell coming forward and saying, we screwed up. We told our players to not protest, and we shouldn't have done that. And so now here goes Kaepernick once again. He's going to stay with his message. He's going to really push the needle on it. And I wanted to ask you, Joe, do you think he's going about it in the right way? He might have got shunned from the NFL, but you can tell he still wants to carry on his passion. Do you agree with how he's going about it?
Definitely. I definitely agree with that. How he's going about it, especially with all this stuff that's going on, politically.
Very good move for Kaepernick and his team.
Yeah, no question. I think that this Disney thing will definitely help him. And I think that, at the end of the day, Kaepernick was right and he got the last laugh. And now everyone's saying, oh, we messed up. So I think he's keeping his head up. He's not too active on social media, which is very important, man. Not being too active and vocal on social media, I think is very important. It kind of gives you a bad reputation if you're just blabbing on social media 24/7. So I think he's kind of keeping his head up, and he knows that the NFL screwed up, and he knows that these teams screwed up. And at the end of the day, he was correct. And if he's given another chance, I would love to see it. Obviously, this guy's worth it, but I just don't know if his talent is worth it. That's at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
So.
I 100% understand. I was super happy to see Kaepernick score this though, and it kind of flew under the radar as far as I knew. I was really shocked I didn't see anything. I'm sure there was something on Bleacher Report, but I guess just to not really be enlightened on the topic to find this on ESPN's website, it really blew me back for a second. But I love, like I said, Colin Kaepernick is still pushing his message, and I know he's going to be able to, at the end of the day, just overcome all of this that's happening. And I feel like the move with Disney is definitely the jump start to that. The kneeling was the jump start to that too, but it's now like, okay, you want to get me off the field. Okay, that's fine. You don't want me to use your platform. I'll use Disney's platform. I'll use Hulu. I'll use Pixar. I'll use The Undefeated, and so I can't disagree with Colin Kaepernick on that. That's going to wrap up the NFL segment of the What Off Season Sports Podcast, guys. Let's go ahead and dig into Major League Baseball. So obviously the DH is coming to the NFL only for this season, going to be gone the next, but hopefully back for good in 2022. So I wanted to take a look at the possible best DH hitters in the National League. Let's start here with Matt Carpenter. Just straight up, this guy can flat out hit the ball. He has struggled some lately, but honestly, the Cardinals will let him work out the kinks in the DH position. I wanted to ask you, Joe, do you think Matt Carpenter could be a powerful DH hitter in the NL?
100%. This guy hits everything. I love him. His on-base percentage was crazy last year. I think that he can really put the Cardinals over the top in this, short 60-game season. I think he's going to be a powerful hitter and definitely explosive and really prove his worth for this team.
Definitely. And speaking of explosive players, before he actually got hurt, Austin Riley of the Atlanta Braves could be another fantastic DH. You can check the facts, check all the stats. Riley has better batting stats than Adam Duvall against lefties, 7 homers. And, also Austin Riley was bursting at the seams last year before being injured. I want to say there was some sort of stat like he was the youngest to X amount of home runs and RBIs and steals. It was crazy because he was really surging for the Braves. I know the Braves really could have used him in the playoffs, and obviously it was more than just not having Austin Riley. That was the downfall of Atlanta in the playoffs. But I definitely feel like Austin Riley could be a great DH hitter. Would you agree so as well, Joe?
Yeah, there's not a lot of good going for the Braves right now. I'm sorry, man. I know you're a Braves guy.
Oh, it's all good. Hey, it's all good. Rebuilding.
But they gotta turn it around. I think Austin Riley's definitely a big part of them turning it around, and he's gonna be great in this short season. Very powerful hitter, definitely a presence in that locker room too. I think he's gonna really show himself as this powerful player in the division, and maybe the Braves can make a run. I'm not saying it's impossible. We'll see what happens.
Right, 100%. And these next 3 DH hitters, pretty obvious, but we wanted to go ahead and put them out there. So Hunter Pence, all-star DH last year with the Rangers. Obviously, if he was an all-star for the DH position, he was doing some work in that category. So we have to give that to Hunter Pence. Ryan Braun still smashing the baseball hard as ever. And with him getting pushed from the outfield to the infield, it would really be ideal for Ryan Braun to DH since Justin Smoak can play first. And, a beast nonetheless, really, in Ryan Braun. He's always been able to hit the baseball. He has great averages, great percentages. And I feel like you would side with me as well on that one, Joe. But the last one specifically, Howie Kendrick of the Washington Nationals, obviously the World Series champion. And how do you not put someone who hit 344 last year with a slugging percentage of 572 into your DH spot. I mean, Howie Kendrick himself had plenty of instances in the playoffs where he was able to help the Nationals overcome the deficit. Him and Juan Soto specifically were able to help the Nationals out. But Joe, do you think Howie Kendrick could provide that DH presence for the World Series champions?
No question about it. He was an animal last year, and he was part of that, World Series team. I think he's going to be insane in this short season, and then go into the playoffs. I think he's definitely going to make the DH spot and provide them, that big, powerful hitter like he did last season as well.
Yeah, man, definitely. I agree. All right, man. So we're now actually going to dig into a breakout pitcher for the National League and for the American League. I'm going to start with the American League, and Joe, I'll let you piggyback off of this also. So I'm going to take Nate Pearson. He can throw 100 on the gun. His slider is absolutely nasty, and it generates many swinging strikes. And his changeup should be respected as well. Overall, his repertoire is just really developing. And I've been watching this kid for a while now, and I really think this could be the season for him to break out. When you throw 100 on the gun with the fastball, it's already hard to keep up with you. But when you can do it in the fashion that Nate Pearson can, and at the time in his career that he's doing it, I don't see how you couldn't look at him for a breakout pitcher. Would you have anybody to contest with that, Joe, or would you say Nate Pearson for the AL?
I was going to say Nate Pearson as well, man. I love Nate Pearson. I think, like you said, he's a very, very powerful thrower. Like, that speed is just consistent and crazy, and he has these other pitches that it just – he's great and really fun to watch. And like I told you earlier, I'm not a huge baseball watcher, but watching him is crazy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. And I feel like you maybe would have got more of the actual the NL breakout pitcher for the year. And you could possibly argue that this guy was the best pitcher at one point for this squad. It's going to be Max Fried of the Atlanta Braves. You can look at his first half of the season, a 4.29 ERA, a 1.41 whip. And he had about 9 strikeouts per 9 innings. And also it says here about 3 strikeouts per walk. So not a terrible first half of the season, but you see he flipped it around, knocked it down to a 3.63 ERA, a 1.22 whip, and you have up to 10 strikeouts per 9 innings. And you're also upping the strikeouts to walk ratio. So the Braves struggled a lot last year in the bullpen. Everybody knows that, whether it was Fultonevich blowing it up in the playoffs, whether it was not getting the consistent form of Julio Teheran, whether it was, having to send Fulte back down, or Max Fried having his little hiccups that he had. The kid's still young, but I do think he is primed for a breakout year. And you just look at the second half, really the turnaround of the ERA, 4.29 to 3.63. Would you have anybody that you think you could go up against him, Joe, for the NL breakout pitcher of the year?
I think a nice sleeper that people don't really realize is Cole Hamels.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah, he could break out for the Braves this year.
I think he could totally break out for the Braves, man. He has some similar stats, and I think he can be really powerful for this team. And I think
he was once a top 5 pitcher in the league, man. Him and Roy
That's
Halladay.
What I'm saying. And he dropped down a lot, right? So people think they forget about him and how solid he will be for this team. And like I said, if they do want to make a run, they're starting, pitchers are really going to be a big part of it. And I think they have great 2 pieces here,
Absolutely, man. I 100% agree with you. I'm going to love to see how the Braves just overall develop their bullpen. They still have Mike Soroka. I think Mike Soroka is the best pitcher for the Braves. He went 10-2 last year. I want to say as a rookie, lost his first game, won 10 in a row, and then lost his last actual start. But I think Mike Soroka is the ace for the Braves, and I do think Max Fried really could be competing with him. Felix Hernandez is sitting out, so there's a veteran loss. Maybe he could be Zoom calling the team, maybe doing some virtual coaching, whatever the case could be. But I definitely do think Max Fried could have a breakout year and possibly be the ace for the Atlanta Braves. Real quick, guys, this is the What Offseason Sports Podcast. I'm Adam Lewis, your host. I have Joe with me from the Clowntown Sports Talk Show. Go follow them on Instagram, clowntown.talkshow. They have content every single day. Joe, thank you so much for joining me in the studio today, man. We're about to tackle this NBA segment here. We mentioned in the introduction, guys, we're going to be digging into some dark horses for the playoffs. Joe, if you'd like to kick this one off, man, you can definitely go ahead. Who is one dark horse team you have for the NBA?
Heat. I think the Heat will be able to really, really push top teams in the playoffs. I think that Jimmy B, when he's on fire and this team is all healthy, they have probably, besides the Lakers, their chemistry is crazy, but I think the Heat have great, great chemistry. And I think Gordon Dragic is going to be a huge part of that as well. Their point guard.
Forgot about him, man.
I love this team, man. I really do. And I love watching Jimmy B play. Jimmy B is just really, really great. And he's really shown how much of an all-star he is being on this Heat team. And nobody's, thought that the Heat was going to be this good. Everyone said, okay, just Jimmy B going, it's not going to be great. But he has completely turned this team around and make them a top team. I think that he will definitely lead this team to a deep playoff run.
I agree. And I do think the Heat I definitely agree with you on the Heat being a dark horse playoff team. Jimmy Butler specifically can just really be the catalyst for that team. And if you even look here, they placed in the 4 seed at the time that the NBA suspended play. And a lot of people, really even kind of myself were including that I thought they could be the team most equipped to take down the top seeded Milwaukee Bucks, obviously the number 1 team in the East, the number 1 team in the NBA, record-wise. And due to their physicality, really, and just their three-point shooting, the Heat were the only team this season to defeat the Bucks twice. Nobody else has been able to do that. I think the Bucks are going to be able to, the team that's going to be able to compete with the Lakers for the championship. But I definitely agree with you, man. And, Jimmy Butler, if he can keep it together, if he can keep his character composed, because he's a hell of a player. He's got talent. There was no doubt about that. We all saw that in Chicago. And we saw how he was kind of hard to get along with in Philadelphia. Now he's in Miami. But if he knows what he's got inside and just the talent that he can really produce for that team, because he's a veteran in a way. He's able to coach the guys around him. I'm not saying he's LeBron, but he kind of has that LeBron instinct. He's able to mentor the guys around him. I'm not going to say he makes them better, but of course he's got that insight. You know what I mean?
100%. And definitely agree with you there.
Right, man. And the next team I'm actually going to throw at you guys I think really could be a dark horse in the NBA playoffs. It's got to be the Philadelphia 76ers. Injuries devastated them. I get that. Injuries completely, it felt like just about wiped them off the map because they landed in the 6th seed when the season halted. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid, their 2 superstars, were battling out back injuries at the time. And, with the hiatus, they could heal without rushing, be able to come back. They are going to have to depend on Tobias Harris and Josh Richardson. Really need to be able to pick it up offensively. And Al Horford defensively is going to be able to he's going to need to be able to transition better and just provide better spacing in the defense. But with Ben Simmons healing up and with Joel Embiid, those are arguably, top 10 respectively at both of their positions. And the Sixers they've really been on the edge, I feel like, for the past couple seasons. And everybody was talking about the process and this and that. And I get it. Kawhi had one hell of a shot. I wouldn't even say it was a lucky shot. Kawhi eyed that thing up, hand in the face, and he drained it. And that sent them to the finals, or, the ECF, whatever it was. But I definitely do think the Philadelphia 76ers are another dark horse team. Do you feel like so too, Joe?
I'm going to have to disagree with you with this one. I'm not a big Sixers fan. I think they're the most inconsistent team in the NBA. I
respect it.
I just struggle with them, man. They'll win a really hard game and then they'll lose to the Hawks or they'll lose, to some shitty team. Sorry.
No, you're good.
To some bad team. They don't do it for me. I think they're not going to be.
I can side with you.
They're just so inconsistent. Ben Simmons and Joel Embiid are such great players, and it really does. It stinks because they could be so good and they're not, and they're just so inconsistent, man. And I just with the inconsistency with this, playoff bubble team, yes, it's gonna be tough for me to say that they can make a deep run into the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm 100%. And dang, so now that I haven't you said that about the Sixers. The next team I'm going to throw out, I feel like you might disagree as well, but it's all good. I got a little justification for him, and I am confident in the 2 guys specifically in the backcourt for this team. I'm going to say the Houston Rockets 100%. Russell Westbrook and James Harden are arguably the most dynamic backcourt in the league. Not the best, but the most dynamic when they're clicking on all cylinders. But when it matters, they just can't seem to flow well together, and rebounding is a major issue here. But with 2 MVPs, an explosive guard in Russ, and an offensive machine in Harden, you can't count these guys out just yet. And like I said, I know sometimes it's hard for them to flow. That really could come back and bite them in the playoffs. But do you think the Rockets have the potential to be able to be a dark horse contender for the NBA title?
I do, man. And I'm a little disappointed with how their regular season turned out for them. They weren't, a top team in the NBA, I struggle with that because they're such a powerful team. They have some great weapons.
They have two of arguably the most offensive and just energetic, dominant people in the league.
Yeah, and they've played together before too, so it's just like they should already have that chemistry, but they didn't. And it was tough for me to kind of see that they didn't have as good of a season as I thought they would. And I think that will change. I definitely actually agree with you with this one. I think that will definitely change in these playoffs. I think they're going to get really competitive and really want to prove that they are a top team in the NBA. And they're going to make a deep playoff run as well. I don't think they'll win. I don't think they'll win it, but I think they'll make it, probably to the semifinals. I think they'll be able to do that. I really do. I think Russ and James are really going to take them to the next level. And I love their defensive play as well. Russell Westbrook, one of the best defensive minds in the NBA. I love that. You know what I'm saying? So we're gonna see what happens there.
2 MVPs in the backcourt too, man.
Just saying. Good point.
I mean, if you want to talk about offensive lethality and just diversity and complexity of their offensive game, you instantly think of Russell Westbrook and James Harden. I mean, 100%. James Harden's arguably the best scorer in the league for the past 3-4 years. Obviously the playoffs really, obviously give him a lot of problems, and Russell Westbrook, the temperament and the attitude and, the tying up with the fans a little bit. And he was really, I'm just going to say right now, Kansas City really, not Kansas City. Wow. Oklahoma City really enabled him. And then the MVP season was really just like, okay, here is a reward for basically kind of acting immature all season, and just butting heads with everybody, kind of felt like about everything. But I do think the Rockets have a lot of potential. Like I said, if Russ and Harden can click together offensively, but also defensively with that rebounding, I think the Rockets have a good chance. But yeah, I definitely love this last segment we are getting into here before we round out the What Offseason Sports podcast, guys. So I know everybody has seen the NBA is allowing players to have the social injustice phrase on their jerseys, leaving out specific names, of course, so no one is left behind, obviously, with all the police brutality that's been happening. But the phrases are approved by the league. Now, Joe, if I know you heard about this, but hearing about this at first, before you even heard that the league had approved the message, did you think that players, obviously within reason and, discretion of the league, do you think the players should have been able to come up with these phrases themselves to be able to stand in their own way for the social injustice and the inequality?
Yeah, I do. I'm a little hesitant on that. I just don't honestly know too much about that situation.
I feel you.
So, I obviously understand where they're coming from.
Too.
Yeah, I don't want to dive in too deep because I don't really have too much of an opinion on it. You know what I'm saying? So it's just tough for me because I'm not that too political, and I really try to kind of not back off of it, but I not dive too deep into what it is.
Yeah, try not to wrap yourself up so much in it.
Exactly. And obviously I support the movement. I'm all about it. I'm all about Black Lives Matter. I just don't want to wrap myself too much around the political parts and aspects of it. You know what I'm saying to you? Right. So that's just kind of what it is for me. But I do agree with what they're saying 100%. I do agree with the movement. And I do agree with everything what these players are doing.
Right, man. And I definitely appreciate you saying that. And I feel that too. But now in a way, it feels like you could have some more division possibly. And I'm just going to bring up these few points here. The players will choose the phrases. So, it could possibly be a couple of things. And I might catch some slack for this, but it's just honestly my opinion. And it's all friendly. I'm just putting it out there for really a topic of conversation because you do have to think about it because this could be possibly another wedge. If it could go further than being in the sports world. Players will choose phrases possibly just so they don't not have one. Obviously, they want to be able to be on board with the Black Lives Matter movement. Or players will not choose phrases because they don't like the approved ones. And then you also have to think, why not let the players determine their own messages? Yeah, it might be some work for the league to approve it, but guess what, NBA? Quit being lazy. We've already suspended the season. You act like you don't have time on your hands. The season has been initiated with the restart. We know it's coming. You've got some time. But it is a step in the right direction. I do agree. It is a step in the right direction for the NBA, but specifically Philadelphia 76ers player Mike Scott, former Atlanta Hawks, said that it was a bad miss. And in a way, I kind of do agree because, if you're asking people of all ages, all color, all races, all sizes to stand up for this movement, but then you're going to go out and approve these messages. Now, like I said, don't get me wrong. I know there's going to be people out there that think I'm being heinous with this, but if you want people to stand up, at the end of the day, you have to let people be themselves, one. And, too, I feel like this is another form of coddling by the NBA. Kind of like how the NFL coddles their players a little bit and might not let them say what they want to say. Really strict fines, all the implications in the contract. When you look at this with the NBA, you really want to let these guys be able to express themselves. And I mean, I'm going to say because it's the fact the NBA is way more than predominantly black. So why would you not why would you not give these guys the opportunity to, like I said, within reason, league approved, but let the players propose it. And, I know that, some people might say that's too much work for the NBA, but I mean, what more can you really worry about? This should be the focus of every sport right now, and just not letting the players, craft their own messages. Like I said, it's not a huge deal, but it does just make you think, could it possibly be more division at the end of the day? And, I hope it's not a bad miss. I don't feel like in my heart, it's a bad miss, but I do understand why Mike Scott would say that. Do you really anything else for you to weigh in on there, Joe?
I agree with you 100%, man. I do think that the NBA and especially the NFL coddle their players. And I'm going to bring up this, and, I don't know if people agree with me, but I honestly think that the Kyrie Irving thing is the most frustrating thing ever, in my opinion.
With his own outside league.
Oh,
I just don't understand. We can even get into that a little bit before we wrap up the show here, brother, because I thought, in my opinion, that it's just like that can cause for more division. Is the ultimate goal right now not to be able to unify everybody? I get it.
I agree with you 100. Yeah, it's just it's frustrating, man.
Oh yeah, 100%. And you might think that I'm disagreeing with you in a way, but I'm actually on your side. Like, I feel you. It is frustrating to see, Kyrie's already got the history that he does. Sometimes people, this guy at one point told us that the world was flat, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm kidding, haha, not really." Like, so in a way, it makes you wonder, where is Kyrie's mentality? I'm not saying he's detached from the issue, but to really separate yourself and just start another league, that really blew me back, because it's like, at the end of the day, if you're trying to unify everything, I get it, the NBA might not be the best platform for unification, but at the end of the day, you do have to work with, with what you have, because if you go and branch off to another league, there's no telling where that could possibly take you to. Is it going to be positive? Is it going to be negative? We don't know at the end of the day, Joe. You know what I mean?
100%. I agree with you. And I think I'm going to have to say, I think it's negative. I just do. For this guy to be able to come out and say, hey, let's start another league, and there's no repercussions with that. How does he still have two contracts? A contract with the NBA and then a contract with the NBA PA.
Right.
How is that even allowed? Doesn't make any sense. How that's allowed?
Right. I definitely agree, dude. I definitely agree. That's going to wrap up today's episode of the What Off-Season Sports Podcast, everybody. I appreciate everyone taking the time out of their day to tune in for this packed episode featuring Joe Gioffre of the Clowntown Sports Talk Show. Go follow them on Instagram, clowntown.talkshow. They have a TikTok as well. Like I said, guys, they're pushing content every day. They have professional athletes on the show all the time. Great content, super energetic guys. They have a great team over there at the Clowntown Talk Show. Go check them out. Go hit the like, go hit the follow, get in their DMs. Just really get them some engagements on the page. Of course, don't forget about the link tree in the bio of our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter of the What Off-Season Sports Podcast, guys. It's all of our content on every platform. You'll find the show on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, everywhere and everything. Get on there, subscribe to us. Please leave us a 5-star review. Go hit the sub on Apple Podcast, on YouTube. Leave us some comments. However you engage with the show, with the page, guys, I promise I'm going to be right there coming back at you. Go write a review. Throw in some topics you might want to hear on the show. And, of course, as always, tune in next week for another great episode of the What Off-Season Sports Podcast. Joe, it was great having you as a guest, dude, and I will definitely catch you next time. Good luck with everything on the Clowntown Talk Show, brother. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me, man. It was great talking to you, and we dove into some great topics. Thanks a lot for shouting us out. We love your stuff as well, and hope to be on again.
Yeah, dude, absolutely. Here comes the cross-promotion of the pages, man. This is What Off Season, signing out, everybody.